Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Janus, creator of Pinoy Tech Dad. Today I'm going to be showing you the differences between the Redmi Note 9S and the Redmi Note 9 Pro. And I'm going to be telling you which one is the better value for your money. But we're mostly focusing on the camera. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of camera comparisons just to show you if there's really a difference in quality when it comes to taking photos with these two phones. Oh, and before anything else, I'm going to be giving away this Redmi Note 9S. So this is the limited edition Redmi Note 9S, but that's going to be on another video, which is my full review of the Redmi Note 9S. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to this channel in order for you to have a chance to win this Redmi Note 9S. Right, so let's roll that intro. First of all, before we go straight to the comparison, let me just tell you guys about the edge light bleeding or screen bleeding, which a lot of you are actually worried about. So I was able to test this on the default Google SMS app. There is actually some slight edge light bleeding or screen bleeding on both of these phones. Now with these phones that I have, I was only able to see those imperfections with a gray background. Now here's a question for you. Are you gonna use your phone the whole time with gray background? Are you gonna play your games with gray background? Are you gonna take photos with gray background? With other normal backgrounds, you won't be able to notice the screen bleeding issue. And again, it's not even that noticeable. I really had to find it or really had to look for it. So yeah, it's not a big deal. So anyway, let's start with the comparison. So again, what we have here is the Redmi Note 9S and the Redmi Note 9 Pro. And we're gonna start with the charging difference between the two phones. So the Redmi Note 9S can only charge up to 18 watts. But what's cool is that there's actually a 22.5 watt charger included in its box. I actually tested the 22.5 watt charger of the Redmi Note 9S on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, and it was able to charge 22.5 watts. So this is a legitimate 22.5 watt charger. Now, on the other hand, the Redmi Note 9 Pro can charge up to 33 watts fast charging. Now, what's actually weird with the Redmi Note 9 Pro that I have right here with me is that it was only able to charge at less than 30 watts while it was turned on. I actually had to turn it off to see that it was able to reach 30 watts fast charging. So I had to ask Gadget Sidekick for his opinion on this because he was able to test the Redmi Note 9 Pro before, and he confirmed that he was able to fast charge it up to 33 watts while it was turned on. Now, if you guys have any idea why that happened to me, do let me know in the comment section. So the Redmi Note 9 Pro has NFC. On the other hand, the Redmi Note 9S doesn't have NFC. And for me, unless you really need NFC, it's not something you'll be looking for. Sure, it's nice to have NFC to be future-proof, but I don't see NFC becoming a trend here in the Philippines for now. Maybe in the future, NFC will be more readily available, but as of now, it's not something that most Filipinos need. But if you're from other parts of the world, of course, this is going to be important if you have NFC readily available at most of your stores. Let's talk about the camera. The Redmi Note 9 Pro has a 64 megapixel main camera, and the Redmi Note 9S only has a 48 megapixel camera. Now, the big question here is whether that difference translates into something that we can actually see. Okay, can we actually see the difference when we're checking out our phones, or do we need to really zoom in before we can see any difference at all, if there is any difference? And that's what we're gonna find out. So hopefully I'll be able to show you guys if there is any actual difference. Now, I'm not gonna spoil this for you. I actually know the result already, so let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so now we're using the PC, and you can see on your left side we have the Redmi Note 9S. Don't worry guys, this will have a watermark, but we're gonna be zooming in on most of these images. So on the right side you have the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So this is our first image. First, let's zoom in on the image of the Redmi Note 9S. So let's see center focus, and then on the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So you can see that we have a softer image on the Redmi Note 9 Pro when it comes to center focus right here on the wood. And you can see there's a lot more details on the Redmi Note 9S. And by the way, I'm using 64 megapixels for the Redmi Note 9 Pro and 48 megapixels for the Redmi Note 9S. And by the way, both phones have GW1 sensors from Samsung, so the quality should not be that far off. Alright, so as you can see, there's definitely a softer image on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, and this might be due to human error. I might be moving when I took the photo. So let's try and zoom in on both images. Even though I might have moved when I was taking the photo on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, you can see that when you zoom in more, you can see more sharpness on the leaves right here. And on the leaves on the Redmi Note 9S, you have a very soft image right here, very soft details. And when you zoom out, you actually can't see the difference. Let's move on to our next image. Let's check for center focus. So center focus, they're more or less the same. Let's see if we actually get more details on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, right? You can see more details right here than over here on the Redmi Note 9S. But again, when you zoom out, can you actually tell if there's any difference like this? Or even if you zoom in a little bit. Now, can you tell if there's any difference? Now, if you zoom in, let's check out the details on the leaves. So let's go for maximum zoom. Yeah, you can definitely see more details on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, as you can see here, compared to here on the Redmi Note 9S. And the color is definitely still there for some of the leaves, while it's really washed out on the Redmi Note 9S. So let's move on to the next photo. This one, I can tell you that there's a difference in the color reproduction again. You can see that on the right side on the Redmi Note 9 Pro, the sky is definitely bluer. And also there's a difference with the exposure. You can see that on the Redmi Note 9S, it's a little bit more overexposed. And I was taking these photos, so I can tell you that the proper exposure here is with the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So the image on the Redmi Note 9 Pro right here is definitely more representative of what I was actually seeing with my own eyes. Now, in terms of details, let me see if we can find any differences between the two. Yeah, so right there, you can see that the image on the Redmi Note 9S is definitely pixelated when you zoom in. So you can see that we have more details on the Redmi Note 9 Pro. You can see this small part right here that is missing from the Redmi Note 9S. Now, if you zoom out, you can't really tell if there's any difference. Anyway, let's move on to another photo. So let's check out this tree right here. Definitely more edge sharpening going on the Redmi Note 9 Pro compared to the Redmi Note 9S, where it's just a blurry mess with this part right here on the trees. But overall, it's basically the same image with different color reproduction. Again, we get a more saturated color on the Redmi Note 9S and a more neutral color on the Redmi Note 9 Pro. But we actually have an overblown background on the Redmi Note 9 Pro compared to the Redmi Note 9S, where we can see that the sky is still there. Okay, so you can see on the part of the leaves right here, it's definitely darker here on the Redmi Note 9S than on the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So let's go ahead and zoom in to find out what's actually going on here. All right, so you can see here the colors are more natural on the Redmi Note 9 Pro. You can see that. When we zoom in on the Redmi Note 9S, you can definitely see that it's kind of blurry and it kind of has a watercolor effect. I'm not sure if you can tell, but otherwise, if you zoom out, there's not much of a difference. They're both sharp images for a mid-range phone, so that's really good. All right, so let's move on. Let's go ahead and check a few more photos. So let's see if we can get more details on the coconut tree. So let's zoom in on that, and also on the Redmi Note 9S. Again, you can see a softer image on the Redmi Note 9S. You know what? I'm just gonna be repeating myself over and over again when it comes to photo quality on the two. When you're zoomed out like this, when you see the image by default, there's really no difference aside from probably the color reproduction. It's only when you zoom in like so that you can see some slight differences. But let's be real here. You're not gonna zoom in on your images like I'm doing. I'm just doing this so we can see if there's any actual differences between the two. And To be honest, there's not a lot of difference going on between the two phones, so I'd rather go with whatever is less expensive. Before we end this, let's go ahead and check out some selfies. So both phones have portrait capabilities, and they're not actually bad, but they're not actually as good as what you'd want them to be. They have the same quality selfie cameras, so you can expect the same results for both phones when it comes to selfie cameras. Again, on the left is the Redmi Note 9S. You can see that the edges are not perfect. So you can see a lot of imperfect edges on the selfie camera right here. So this is the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So it's basically the same selfie camera for both phones. So whatever you see on the Redmi Note 9S is also the same thing that you'll be getting with the Redmi Note 9 Pro. So that's gonna be the end of the photo comparison. Let's go ahead and check out if there's any difference when it comes to video quality on both phones. All right, so now we're testing 4K 30 frames per second videos. So we're checking out if these two phones have stable videos. I don't think they do. Let's see here. We're gonna try and walk and see the stabilization features of both phones, if there's any. I don't think there's any. Right. I think that should be good enough for this front camera test. You can see the backdrop with the sunlight, how it adjusts with the lighting. And if you're facing the sun, it looks like this. It's too bright. And if you're facing against the sunlight, it's gonna look like this. All right, so there you have it, guys. That's our front camera test for the Redmi Note 9 Pro over here and the Redmi Note 9S right over here. So let's go back to the comparison. Alright guys, so that's our comparison between the Redmi Note 9 Pro and the Redmi Note 9S. So I'm gonna be straightforward here. So this is some real talk right here. Get the Redmi Note 9S. This is better price to performance value for you. The Redmi Note 9 Pro is nice, okay, if you have the extra buck. You're supposedly paying more for this because of the higher megapixel count, but I don't see it. You'll have to zoom in, you'll have to nitpick, you'll have to pixel peep to be able to see the difference, the actual difference between the two cameras. For me, it's just better value to get the Redmi Note 9S. Now, if what you need is the actual fast charging and the NFC feature, then by all means, you're very welcome to get the Redmi Note 9 Pro. But if you're getting the Redmi Note 9 Pro for supposedly its camera advantage over the Redmi Note 9S, I highly advise you to not do that. Don't do that, because the camera quality is almost the same. Whatever camera differences there are, you'll have to really zoom in a lot to be able to tell that the Redmi Note 9 Pro is better, and even so, it's not gonna be that much better than the Redmi Note 9S. Now, Xiaomi might actually hate me for this, for telling you not to get the Redmi Note 9 Pro, but whatever. I need to tell you the truth. I need to be honest with you guys. Go ahead and get the Redmi Note 9S. I'll put links in the description box where you can get it so you won't get scammed. So hopefully I was able to give you a lot of value with this video. I know this is very rough on the edge. There's no script on this. I'm just telling you whatever is on my mind and whatever I think is right. Now, if you want a more in-depth review of the Redmi Note 9S and the Redmi Note 9 Pro, I suggest you check out my friends from the Gadget Gang, Sir Sule Tech Reviews and Sir Richmond Tan of Gadget Sidekick, for their in-depth reviews of both phones. And again, as a reminder, I'll be giving away my limited edition Redmi Note 9S. You'll be able to find the mechanics of my giveaway in my full review of the Redmi Note 9S, which is hopefully coming soon. I'm just a little bit busy with other stuff in life. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that bell button so you can watch more videos like this in the future. And that's it for today, guys. Keep safe and have a great day.